today.
Not a problem.
These are, as you said, things that parents are often faced with at this time of year, and so some things to bear in mind. What does that mean, really? You're targeting parents.
Well, that's correct, Rich. For seniors in high school, mid-April, typically starts the prom, graduation, the party mode.
Mm-hmm.
And this weekend, a lot of the local proms are starting off. They're jumping off with those parties, the proms. And so this time couldn't have come at a better time. And for the parents, it's our responsibility to be mindful and remind our children and our students of the safeties and the tragedies that go along with underage drinking when you're at these parties and graduations.
Right. And in some cases, maybe parents aren't even presuming that something like that might be available to their child, but they probably are.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's every parent raises their children a different way. They have different morals and standards. Some parents and families seem to think it's okay, maybe not even okay, but it's okay. We're at home. We have a closed door party. So they think it's a little bit safer that way. But in essence, overall, underage drinking is a criminal act, and providing those teenagers is also a criminal act. So very important that we stay vigilant and we stay mindful during these times.
Let's try to understand that thinking a little bit. So someone might say, a parent, an adult, this is a rite of passage this time in their lives, and a celebration is in order, and maybe if I have my child in my own home with a couple of friends, and they're not going anywhere, and they're going to stay in my house, and I'm going to take responsibility for that allowing alcohol to be part of that might be okay. You're saying think twice about that.
Absolutely, I do. And I stand behind that because when you allow underage drinking, like I said before, it is illegal. And then you invite other students of friends or friends of your student. You never know what those students have done prior to coming into your home. So there's some liability there as well when you mix possibly, for instance, prescription medication, and when prescription medication interacts with alcohol, there is some adverse effects, and there's some serious side effects that go along with it. So that's just some of the things that you might want to think about prior to having underage drinking in your home.
Might not know what's going on beforehand. All right, and we'll talk about some other safety things for parents to keep in mind here in the prom season and springtime when we come back in a minute on WBCK. Officer Mark Tillman's here from the Battle Creek Police Department. We're offering some thoughts about the season as it relates to safety and things of that nature, particularly for parents whose children are in prom season, graduations, and, well, overall, warmer weather means we're just active in a lot of ways that maybe we're not in the middle of February or something, and so we're talking about that today. So the underage drinking issue is important. Before we go any further, let me just say, you made the point that an adult providing alcohol to a minor is a criminal offense.
Yes, it is. That's right.
So bear that in mind. Even in the safety or presumed safety of one's own home, still applies, right?
Correct.
What else should we be thinking about?
Well, during this time, seniors look forward to the celebrations as they prepare to depart for school. They look forward to new adventures. Unfortunately, these happy occasions involve underage drinking, like I talked about before, and result in tragedies. A lot of the accidents for age 18 to 24, it's fueled by alcohol. Those accidents, they involve some sort of alcohol relation. So the things I want to talk about are some tips that parents need to really think about, because we might say, hey, look, we already know that. They know that. They're going to. But do we really know? Or do they really know? Or are they really aware of this? So it's our responsibility as parents, as a community, to always constantly, and more importantly, repeatedly remind our students during the weeks to come I'd like to say or talk about a few things, and like it's like my top 10. Sometimes I talk about sitting down, having to sit down with your children or with your student about prom and graduation. Send that clear message that you do not want your student to involve or to drink alcohol during these parties or these celebrations. And a lot of people say that's easier said than done. What can I possibly say or do to prevent or show? But there are some things. What I like to do personally, take some photos of tragic accidents that have occurred. That usually resonates with these kids, with students, and you show them the pictures, and it's kind of gruesome, but to each his own. You see the pictures and you see the photos, and you ask them, would you drink alcohol and drive a vehicle if you knew this was going to happen? And most are going to say no.
I remember when I was in school, and it wasn't that long ago, that they would bring in a demolished car and put it on the front lawn of the high school, right by the front door.
Absolutely.
And now it's not just a picture, but it's an image you're walking by every single day,
right.
A physical example of that. This is similar to that.
Absolutely.
Where, it's not something you get to see up close or even in a picture very often.
Yep. They used to do that, and I'm sure they still probably do that in some places. But yeah, that's very, very important. That'll help.
All right. When we come back in a minute, we'll round out that list of things, parents, that we're trying to help you to be reminded of here in this active time of the season. Coming up. WBCK Officer Mark Tillman's with us this half hour, Battle Creek Police Department. Let's give them some more of your list of safety measures to consider at this time of year.
Next, I'd like to talk about, don't forget social media. Check your teenagers' Facebook, MySpace, Instagram, Twitter accounts. If you know kids today, they use code words. They use different slang terms. If
you don't have a list of those, do you?
There's a ton of them out there. There's certain things like lean. I don't know if you've heard of that, but kids use these different terminologies, things out there, and you can use Urban Dictionary if you want to go to Urban Dictionary. Find out who's driving that night, if they're going to graduation, prom, or a party. Make sure everyone understands that under no circumstances should anyone get into a vehicle when the driver's been drinking. Limit the number of passengers to minimize distractions for the driver. Require them to always wear their seatbelts. National Highway Traffic and Safety has said that 70% of teens killed in prom weekends were not wearing their seatbelts. So always 70%. That's from the NHTSA. Work with other parents to plan alcohol-free parties like we talked about before. Prepare your teen for the peer pressure. Brainstorm with your teen specifically about how he or she could handle a situation before being offered a ride when someone's been drinking.
Right.
All right. Also, don't allow your teen to go to hotel parties where there's no chaperone, there's no supervision. And lastly, I'd like to be available. Kids today want someone that's available. Let them know at any time, under any circumstances, you can contact me, and I'll drop and do whatever it is I'm doing to come and get you. And maybe also make up some sort of code word if your kid may be nervous, there's a lot of peer pressure. Use a code to send to your parents, hey, help is needed, and something that's between you and your kid. So those are kind of like my top 10 things to be mindful as parents.
Boy, these are dynamics that maybe parents don't even realize are out there. The whole peer pressure thing is not new.
No, it's not.
However, these are interesting ways to try and help navigate that.
Right.
That a young person just knowing that a parent has said to them, you don't have to go along with this if you're not comfortable, and to tune into those feelings and then act accordingly.
No question, Rich.
So you talked a little bit about the drunk driving statistics and things of that nature. Is it routine when you pull over a drunk driver to encounter a young driver?
It is common. It goes up. It goes in spurts.
Okay.
Certain times of the year, you're going to probably encounter more teenage drunk drivers. But in all, it varies. It all varies. There's no set specific number that you'll see teens behind the wheel that have been drinking. But during these times, you're going to see a spike.
This is the time for that.
This is the time for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the whole code word thing, that is probably an idea that maybe some parents have not thought of, that if your child calls you and they're giving you some kind of notion that something's not right, but you're not able to read that, boy, that code word would cut right through that.
Cut right through it. That cuts to the chase, no questions asked. And you guys set that up before that party, before that situation has arisen. So I'd highly recommend that.
All right. So all of these things are best to keep in mind here at this part of the year when proms and graduations are going on. Another good point that you made is that if someone with a person's child is the driver and they are intoxicated or for some reason you don't feel comfortable getting in the car with them, it's okay not to.
It's okay.
Society is weird. If we don't feel comfortable with something, we feel uncomfortable trying to extricate ourselves from that. And that strange dynamic is often the precursor to some of the things you see.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said before, it's like as parents, we need to get over that notion and speak to our kids more. And the more we talk to our kids about this, the more comfortable they become with actually coming forward to you and saying no to these other people, because they've had the conversation and they know what their parents' expectations are, and they know what to live by and how to live their lives. So
it's almost like a practice thing.
Right.
Talk about it, know how to handle it.
Correct.
Fair enough. We appreciate the time you've given us today. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Officer Mark Tillman is with the Battle Creek Police Department.